Hello again, and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name's Hugo, and I am here to explain, or better yet, to share some of my journey with you all about, or kind of my journey to recovery and wellness after I've exited from the human services and politics and organizing and all that fun stuff. So where to begin? Well, how about at what it is that drove me to these spaces? It's actually a very personal journey. Um, so I always grew up with this sense of like I have to change the world. The world needs me to change it for the better, and always had this like drive about making other people's lives better. And for me, that meant in very real ways to to do kind of hands-on work via kind of providing homeless folks housing and just like emotional support. But I also considered the policy route, um, which I did for a while via my community organizing. Um, so I did all of that, and quite frankly, kind of came to the conclusion that that's not where I need to be any longer. Now, I don't regret any of my time I spent in that space, but now I'm left to kind of try to make sense of it all, 6 years later. So when I was 25, um, I was still working retail. I was doing like a gig at Barnes and Noble. I might have even been tutoring. Quite frankly, I'd have to pull out my resume to really get um, to be accurate here. But there was a sense of urgency that I started to really experience that as a result of my sister's passing. Carla was this beautiful soul, and she had this drive about her to also kind of change the world and be of support and service to others. It is said that, and actually, I don't even know much about some of her journey, but which sounds absolutely terrible, right? I guess it just speaks to my relationship with her at the time. We didn't really spend a lot of time together, quite frankly, and she was just off doing her thing. But basically, my understanding is she was spending time at different detention centers, kind of journeying with incarcerated youth, and she found that work very fulfilling. But the other thing that she did was that she would basically do a lot of emotional labor as she was spending it out in public via, like out in bars or restaurants or whatever. Every time she'd connect with friends over coffee, you know, they all say that Carla was very supportive and just a great listener. Again, you know, we had a little bit of I don't want to call it a strained relationship, but there was certainly a degree of separation between us. But anyway, it was inspiring to hear from her friends just how much she changed their lives via her listening and so forth. So my sister's passing really kind of propelled me into this, like, really kind of gave me this sense of urgency, like, oh shit, now I really gotta can do something with my life. Pardon the French. Now I really have to do something with my life. Um, Life is short. So um, basically, it shattered my understanding of like how much time I thought I had. I mean, my sister was 27 and she was able to accomplish so much in such a short period of time. So again, I felt the sense of urgency of like, I've got to do something with my life. And so almost immediately, actually a month or so went by, and quite frankly, I was just not in good shape, just kind of, you can understand the grieving and just kind of trying to make sense of everything that just happened. I mean, I lost a sister, right, to a motorcycle accident. But the point is that I kicked it into high gear a month and a half later or so, after my sister's passing. And what I literally did was I picked up the phone and I started cold calling the executive directors of different faith-based organizing organizations, for lack of better words. I reached out to organizations that are part of the PICO network, the People in Community Organizing Network, that I believe is now Faith in Action. But anyway, I particularly wanted to talk to folks locally, but I didn't care who I got the phone call from. So I literally started at the very top with the national executive director. I didn't imagine that they'd call me back. Then I went down to like the California level, deputy chair, or whatever that title is, the person that is in charge of all of California affiliates, all of California PICO affiliates. Then I went down to the more local levels, OCO, Orange County Congregation Community Organization. Long story short, finally got a few phone calls back. One organization from Long Beach called me back to just kind of gauge my level of interest. And the other group was OCO, Orange County Congregation Community Organization. I was very fortunate to have Miguel Hernandez at the time call me to set up an appointment and to chat some more about the work that they're doing and how I might be able to plug in. It was a long journey, as you can, as I'm now recalling. But it was super helpful that I went through that. I literally had to go outside of my comfort zone to reach out and make these cold calls, which I thought were going to be like completely ignored. Well, long story short, I ended up connecting. He let me know that there was an opening for a community organizer position, and I kind of jumped on that opportunity and decided I wanted to give that a shot. So I applied, and Miguel was very helpful in that whole process. After about 8 interviews or so, I was chosen. I was hired on as a community organizer. That was the first time I made some real adult money, as a friend once put it. Yeah. What a journey it's been. I'll go into greater depth as far as some of the other work I did outside of community organizing, but I guess I just wanted to focus on the why I got into community organizing to begin with. So it really was about the sense of purpose and the sense of urgency that I felt after this huge, after this important event in my life, my sister's passing. So you get those two together, and suddenly you've got this sense of this like madness of like, oh my gosh, I got to change the world, and a little bit of a frantic journey, quite frankly. But here we are, 6 years later, trying to process all of it. I hope you found this video helpful. If you have, feel free to please click subscribe and like the video. I'd love to hear your comments too if you've got any. Hope you're well. Have a good one, folks.